The silent mourning, the message that changed everything. The transmission reached Earth at 1437 Universal Time, on what would later be remembered as Black Tuesday. Admiral Korath of the Zephyrian Empire appeared on every screen across human space, his scaled features twisted into what his species considered a diplomatic smile. Behind him, the smoking ruins of Meridian Prime painted the sky orange and red. "Citizens of Earth," his voice carried the weight of absolute authority, "your illegal expansion into Sector 7 has been corrected. The colony you called Meridian Prime has been cleansed in accordance with Galactic Territorial Law 445.7. 150,000 of your kind chose to resist lawful eviction. Their fate serves as instruction for future compliance." The feed cut to orbital footage of the bombardment. Massive energy beams had carved through the colony's biodomes like a knife through paper. Schools, hospitals, farms, homes, all reduced to crater glass in a matter of minutes. Children had been playing in those gardens just hours before. Families had been sharing morning meals in those hab blocks. President Sarah Chen received the transmission in the Situation Room, surrounded by her cabinet and military advisors. The room fell silent as the weight of the massacre settled over them like a shroud. General Morrison's fists clenched until his knuckles turned white. Secretary of State Williams stared at the screen with tears streaming down her face. "Ma'am," whispered Communications Director Hayes, "the global networks are requesting an immediate response. The public is—" "I know what the public is," Chen interrupted, her voice steady despite the storm raging behind her eyes. "Schedule a press conference for 1800 hours. Full diplomatic protocols. The world watches." 5 hours later, President Chen stood behind the podium in the White House press room. Her expression was carefully composed, diplomatic, measured. The same expression world leaders had worn for centuries when delivering bad news to their people. "My fellow citizens of Earth and her colonies," she began, "today we received confirmation of a tragic loss. Our friends and family on Meridian Prime are gone, taken from us by forces beyond our immediate control. We grieve their loss and condemn the actions that led to their deaths." The cameras captured every word, broadcasting to billions of humans across dozens of worlds. They watched their leader's face, searching for signs of what would come next. What they saw was diplomatic restraint, careful language, and what the Zephyrians would interpret as submission. "However," Chen continued, "we are a people of peace. We believe in dialogue, in working through proper channels, in finding solutions that honor the memory of our lost citizens while preventing further tragedy. Earth will file formal protests through the Galactic Council and pursue justice through established legal frameworks." Admiral Korath watched the broadcast from his flagship, the Domination. His tactical officer, Commander Vex, gestured dismissively at the screen with one of her 4 arms. "As expected, Admiral, the humans respond with words and empty threats. Their weakness is confirmed." Korath's laugh was a harsh sound, like grinding metal. "Indeed, their largest colony destroyed, and they speak of proper channels and legal frameworks. Perhaps we overestimated their capacity for resistance." The Zephyrian celebration. Aboard the Domination, Admiral Korath hosted a celebration feast. The ship's officers gathered in the grand dining hall, its walls decorated with holographic displays of their recent victory. The destruction of Meridian Prime played on loop, each bombardment accompanied by cheers from the assembled crowd. "To the glorious Zephyrian Empire," Korath raised his ceremonial chalice, "and to the wisdom of teaching lesser species their proper place in the galactic order." The officers drank deeply, their scaled faces flushed with victory wine. Commander Vex leaned close to her superior, speaking in low tones that wouldn't carry over the celebration. "Admiral, our surveillance division reports unusual communication patterns throughout human space. Encrypted transmissions, coded messages, frequency shifts that suggest coordinated activity." Korath waved a dismissive claw. "Grief, Commander. The humans are mourning their dead. Let them weep into their primitive communication networks. Their tears change nothing." But Vex wasn't convinced. Her species had evolved from pack hunters, and her instincts rarely led her astray. Something about the human response felt wrong, like the calm before a storm that her ancestors would have recognized on their homeworld's vast plains. Hidden in plain sight, what the Zephyrians couldn't see was happening in basements and garages across Earth. Dr. Elena Vasquez sat in her modest apartment in Mumbai, her fingers flying across a quantum encryption keyboard. The message she was composing looked like a simple condolence note to her cousin on Mars, but embedded within the seemingly innocent words was a complex set of orbital mechanics calculations. 3,000 kilometers away in London, retired Navy Captain James Wong received her transmission. He decoded the hidden message, added his own calculations, and forwarded it to his network of former shipmates scattered across the solar system. Each recipient was a node in a vast web of communication that spanned human space, invisible to alien surveillance because it looked exactly like what it appeared to be: people sharing grief. On Luna Base, engineer Maria Santos read Wong's message while pretending to work on routine satellite maintenance. The coordinates hidden in his words told her exactly where to position her communications array at 2200 hours local time. She smiled grimly and began updating her work orders. Similar scenes played out on Mars, Europa, Titan, and hundreds of other human settlements. Farmers adjusted irrigation satellites. Dock workers repositioned cargo platforms. Students modified university research arrays. Each action seemed routine, individual, unremarkable. Together, they were orchestrating the most ambitious coordination effort in human history. The first movement. At exactly 2200 Universal Time, amateur astronomer David Kim was conducting his nightly observation session from his rooftop in Seoul. He had been tracking Earth's orbital traffic for over 20 years, and he knew the patterns by heart. Commercial satellites followed predictable paths. Weather monitoring stations maintained fixed positions. Communication relays stayed in their assigned sectors. But tonight, something was different. "That's not right," he muttered, adjusting his telescope's focus. The Europa communications array was moving, not drifting due to solar wind or gravitational perturbation, but moving with purpose, following a trajectory that made no operational sense. He switched to his wide-field scanner and gasped. Dozens of satellites were altering their positions, all moving in perfect coordination. As he watched, more objects joined the dance: research platforms, navigation beacons, even some of the older space stations began adjusting their orbits. David reached for his phone to call the Space Traffic Control Authority, then stopped. This wasn't random. This wasn't an accident or malfunction. The movements were too precise, too coordinated. Someone was directing this choreography, and David suspected he knew why. He opened his observation log and began recording everything he saw. History was being written in the darkness above his head, and he wanted to capture every moment. The Zephyrian Concern. Commander Vex stood in the surveillance center of the domination, studying the tactical displays with growing unease. Her staff had been monitoring human orbital traffic for the past 6 hours, and the patterns were impossible to ignore. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Zack, his voice tight with confusion, "human satellite activity has increased by 300% across all monitored sectors. Every major human world is showing similar patterns of coordinated movement." Vex examined the data streams, her hunter's instincts screaming warnings. "Define coordinated movement, Lieutenant." "Ma'am, it appears that every human-controlled object in space is participating in some form of synchronized repositioning. The movements are precise, purposeful, and they're happening simultaneously across light years of space." The implication sent a chill down Vex's spine. For such coordination to be possible, the humans would have needed to plan this operation long before the Meridian bombardment. They would have needed communication networks capable of instantaneous coordination across interstellar distances. They would have needed a level of organizational sophistication that contradicted everything the Zephyrians believed about human capabilities. "Lieutenant," Vex said slowly, "how long would it have taken to coordinate an operation of this scale?" Zack ran the calculations, his expression growing pale. "Based on the complexity and scope, ma'am. Months? Maybe years of preparation." Vex felt her blood turn to ice water. The humans hadn't been surprised by the Meridian attack. They had been waiting for it. Every diplomatic protest, every call for peace, every apparent sign of weakness had been a performance designed to make the Zephyrians overconfident. She turned to her communications officer. "Get me Admiral Korath immediately." The pattern emerges. As Earth rotated into its new day, the orbital choreography became impossible to hide. News networks across human space began reporting on the mysterious satellite movements. Social media exploded with videos and photographs of the coordinated dance taking place in the heavens above every human world. But the humans watching from below weren't confused or concerned. They were proud. In coffee shops and offices, in schools and factories, people looked up at their screens and understood. Their governments might speak diplomatically, their leaders might call for restraint, but the sky itself was sending a different message. Sarah Chen stood in the Oval Office, watching the feeds from around the world. Her press secretary, Robert Hayes, hovered nervously nearby. "Madam President," he said carefully, "the alien observers are requesting an explanation for the orbital movements. How should we respond?" Chen smiled, and for the first time since the Meridian massacre, the expression reached her eyes. "Tell them it's routine maintenance, Robert. Nothing more than regularly scheduled infrastructure adjustments." Hayes blinked. "Ma'am, they're not going to believe that." "No," Chen agreed, "they're not. But they can't prove otherwise, and by the time they figure out what's really happening, it will be too late to stop it." The president walked to her window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere beyond the blue, millions of her fellow humans were preparing for something the Galaxy had never seen before. Not a military response, not a diplomatic protest, but something entirely new, something entirely human. Admiral Korath was about to learn that humans didn't just grieve, they remembered, and when they remembered, they acted. The sky remembers, the memorial awakens. At dawn on the second day after Meridian's fall, the transformation began in earnest. Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the International Space Station, watching in awe as thousands of objects across Earth's orbital sphere began to pulse with synchronized light. What had started as seemingly random satellite movements now revealed its true purpose. Every human-made object in space was arranging itself into a massive three-dimensional display that wrapped around the entire planet. Communication satellites became pixels in a cosmic screen. Solar collectors turned into projection elements. Even the smallest research probes contributed their navigation lights to the growing pattern. The first image to appear was a face. Jennifer Walsh, age 7, from Meridian Prime's New Gardens district. Her school photograph, somehow captured and transmitted from the colony's databases before the bombardment, now gazed down at Earth from an orbital display 60,000 kilometers wide. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched from her Mumbai apartment as her secret coordination network revealed its true purpose. The encrypted messages hadn't just been about satellite positioning, they had been collecting data, photographs, personal records, and memories from every family that had lost someone on Meridian Prime. 150,000 faces would be displayed in the sky above every human world, each one a testament to lives cut short by Zephyrian brutality. The memorial would be visible from the surface of planets dozens of light-years apart, a unified statement of human grief and determination that spanned the entire species. The galaxy watches. Admiral Korath stood frozen on the bridge of the Domination, staring at the tactical displays showing similar formations above every human world. Luna, Mars, Europa, Titan, the colonies of Alpha Centauri, the mining stations of Wolf 359. Every human presence in the galaxy was participating in this impossible coordination. "How?" he whispered, his scaled hands gripping the command rail until his claws left gouges in the metal. How are they synchronizing across interstellar distances? Commander Vex had abandoned any pretense of calm. Her pack-hunting instincts were screaming danger signals as she processed the tactical implications. Admiral, for this level of coordination to be possible, the humans would need quantum entanglement communication networks spanning dozens of star systems. Our intelligence estimates suggested they were decades away from such technology. Our intelligence, Korath growled, was wrong. The displays showed more than just the memorial formations. Hidden among the civilian satellites and research platforms, Zephyrian sensors were beginning to detect objects that didn't match any known human technology signatures. Ships, but not like any vessels in the human military registry. These craft were small, individually insignificant, but they numbered in the millions. The civilian fleet, Maria Santos, had been waiting for this moment for 3 years. The converted cargo hauler she piloted wasn't much to look at, a blocky industrial vessel designed for moving ore between asteroid mining stations. But hidden beneath its mundane exterior was something the Zephyrians had never expected, a weapon system built from commercial mining equipment. Like thousands of other humans across the galaxy, Maria had volunteered for the Civilian Defense Initiative after the Zephyrians' first territorial demands. The program had been disguised as an expansion of the Merchant Marine, recruiting pilots, engineers, and technicians for what appeared to be routine commercial operations. In reality, they had been preparing for war. "All units, this is command," the voice crackled through her communications array. "Memorial phase is complete. Proceed to assigned positions for Phase 2. Maria smiled grimly and fired her engines. Around her, millions of other civilian vessels did the same, emerging from their hiding places among asteroid fields, gas giant rings, and interplanetary debris clouds where they had waited for over a year. The Zephyrians had seen human merchant ships and mining vessels as beneath notice, too primitive and peaceful to pose any threat. They hadn't realized that human ingenuity could turn any tool into a weapon, any civilian into a soldier. The message. President Chen stood before the cameras once again, but this time her diplomatic mask had fallen away entirely. The woman addressing the galaxy was no longer a politician seeking compromise. She was the voice of humanity's fury. "Citizens of Earth and all human worlds," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of human space and beyond. "Today, we honor the memory of our friends and family taken from us on Meridian Prime. But we do more than mourn. We remember." The orbital displays shifted, showing not just faces, but names, ages, occupations, dreams cut short. Teacher, student, farmer, artist, child, parent. Each life had mattered. Each loss had been counted. "To the Zephyrian Empire and all who would threaten human lives," Chen continued, "you made a mistake. You believed that because we spoke of peace, we were weak. You believed that because we sought diplomacy, we were defenseless. You believed that because we grieved quietly, we would accept injustice." Behind her, the screens showed the vast civilian fleet taking positions around every Zephyrian world simultaneously. Millions of converted freighters, mining ships, and passenger vessels formed blockades that stretched across multiple star systems. "You were wrong. The siege begins." Admiral Korath's strategic display looked like a nightmare. Red warning indicators flashed above every Zephyrian colony, military base, and industrial installation. Human civilian vessels surrounded each location in numbers that defied belief. "Status report," he barked at his communications officer. "Sir, we're receiving similar reports from every sector. Human civilian craft have taken blockade positions around all our major installations. They're not attacking, just waiting." "What do they want?" Korath demanded. His answer came in the form of a simple transmission broadcast on all frequencies. "We remember Jennifer Walsh, age 7. We remember Marcus Chen, age 43. We remember Elena Kowalski, age 19. The names continued. 150,000 voices from across human space, each person reading the name of someone who had died on Meridian Prime. The message was clear. The humans weren't just demanding justice, they were personalizing every loss, making sure the galaxy understood that each number in the death toll represented a real person with a real life that had been stolen. The galactic response. News of the human action spread across the galaxy within hours. The Altarian Federation issued a formal statement calling for a full investigation into the Meridian bombardment. The Vegan Confederacy suspended all trade agreements with the Zephyrian Empire. Even the neutral Centauran Assembly expressed grave concerns about the targeting of civilian populations. Ambassador Thies of the Galactic Council contacted Admiral Korath directly. "Admiral, the Council is prepared to mediate this dispute, but the human action has created a crisis that extends far beyond your territorial disagreement." Korath's laugh was bitter. "Crisis? Ambassador, they're surrounding our worlds with cargo haulers and mining ships, hardly a military threat." "Admiral," Thies replied carefully, "our analysts estimate that there are over 50 million human civilian vessels currently participating in this action. Even cargo haulers become dangerous when they're willing to ram your stations, and our intelligence suggests that many of these vessels have been modified with mining equipment that could be used as weapons." The implication slowly dawned on Korath. The humans weren't threatening to destroy Zephyrian installations. They were threatening to die attacking them. 50 million martyrs willing to sacrifice themselves for revenge. The political and diplomatic fallout would be catastrophic. The new reality. Dr. Elena Vasquez sat in her Mumbai apartment, watching the feeds from across human space. The memorial displays continued above every human world, a constant reminder of what had been lost and what would not be forgotten. Her quantum communication array chimed with an incoming message from Captain Wong in London. Phase 2 complete. All civilian fleets in position. Zephyrian military response minimal. They can't attack civilian targets without proving human claims of their brutality. Elena smiled. It had taken 3 years of planning, millions of volunteers, and the coordination of the largest civilian operation in galactic history. But they had done it. They had turned human grief into the most powerful strategic weapon the galaxy had ever seen. The Zephyrians had expected humans to mourn quietly, to accept their loss, to fade back into diplomatic obscurity. Instead, they had awakened something that would reshape galactic politics forever. The memorial displays pulsed once more, showing the faces of the Meridian dead, and then shifted to show a new message visible from every human world. "We are human. We remember. We do not forgive. We do not forget." Admiral Korath stared at those words from the bridge of his flagship, surrounded by the greatest fleet in Zephyrian history, and realized that for the first time in his military career, he was afraid. Not of human weapons or human technology, but of something far more dangerous: human determination. The sky had turned human, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same.